someone, and just in a moment, you're like, I think I've known her my whole life. And we just hit it off. You know, I say this, I don't know her birthday. We don't talk every single day, but every time we talk, it's meaningful. We even shared some personal stories about our dads and have supported each other through that. And she's such an amazing human, and I'm so happy to have her here with us. So can we please give the warmest and biggest Time to Thrive welcome to my dear friend, Lisa Nichols!
Thank you,
Lisa,
thank you,
we love you. We appreciate you. It's all yours.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, wow. So I have been in the background, super, super stoked and excited. Just listening to my brother, Dean. I always say there are people who are putting your life. Dean, you know, you're my brother from another mother. Sacred, sacred soul. And just watching each one of you, watching this conversation, watching it evolve. I'm super, super excited. I'm looking at the chat. I see you guys. I love you, Cheryl. I love you, Carrie. I love you, Tony. I love you, Carrie. I love you, Maria. I'm looking down here. I love you guys, Jamie. I see all the love in the chat. Thank you so much. You know, this is a necessary conversation right now. And when you talk about what time in the world it is, like this place, this community is sacred for such a time as this, because there's a time in life now where we have choices to make, and your choice will determine the next 5, 10, 20 years of your experience. You spent the last 5 days having some dynamic conversations, looking at this season and this community and this industry. And this industry is about giving hope. This industry is about giving energy, giving inspiration, giving motivation. This industry is about the ability to transform the lives of others. I am a product of this industry. So many times I was interviewed 155 times over 5 months. And the number one question that everyone asked me was, why did you start? Why did you do it? I have to tell you, I didn't get into motivation and inspiration because I wanted to transform the world. I got into transformation because I needed one. Anybody else? Hands up, one hand up, two hands up. Is like, I needed the transformation first, right? I see all your hands up. I'm looking, I got screens everywhere, you guys. And once my life was transformed, I was so inspired by what happened in my life that I wanted to help and touch others. They say that so many people who are serving others are wounded healers, meaning we came through hurt or we came through something and we want to turn around and help someone else. I absolutely agree with that. So I didn't step into transformation saying, I want to transform the world. I stepped into transformation saying, I need to rescue myself from myself and from my limited thinking. Type your name in chat if you know that you are your first rescue. I said it when I was on Steve Harvey. I am my first rescue. I am my rescue. I am the person, right? I see it. Yes and yes and yes and yes and yes and yes. And then something beautiful happens. Dean has referred to it many times. When you have a breakthrough, when you have a transformation, you then say, wait a minute. I want to give it to other people. Hold on. This feels good. I want to give it to other people. I want to make sure that others have it. And so that's how I discovered it. I'm not sure how you came to this path, but however you came to this path, you're here. And there are people who can learn and be inspired by your very existence. And here's what I know. I know that our life was put here to impact, affect, infect those around us. And so there's a reason. It's not by accident that you're here for the last day, 3 days, 4 days, or all 5 days. It's not by accident. It's by divine design, right? And Dean has spoken to it so many times, and so many other speakers have talked about it, that this isn't a time for surviving. This isn't a time. Stop surviving. Well, how are you doing? I'm surviving. This isn't a time for hanging in there. How are you doing? I'm hanging in there. Come on, you guys, if you said that before. This isn't a time for just living. How are you doing? You know, I'm just getting by. This isn't that time. We've been through 30 plus months of pressure shaping us, forcing us to make necessary decisions. This isn't a time for dreaming just to dream. This is a time where you do everything you can. Say everything, type everything in chat. Not some things, not just the things that are convenient, not just the things that are easy, but you do everything you can to turn your dream into your reality. And even bigger than that, to turn your dream into someone else's reality. Oh, when you get that right there, when you get that your dream, when you make your dream come true, all of a sudden you give somebody else permission to dream. Ooh, oh, who knows what I'm talking about? I see you guys doing a lot of writing. I see you guys doing a lot of writing. I see your hand, Elizabeth. I see your hand, Jamie. I see you, Tanya. I see you, Don. And I say that humbly because when I sat next to Oprah in 2007, and I literally was sitting on stage next to her, I looked at her, and it was really weird because when I first came to the studio, I kept looking for her in the television because I had watched Oprah in the television for 15 years. I couldn't believe that I was in the studio with her. So when I sat next to her on stage with Jack Canfield sitting here and Rhonda Byrne sitting here, we're being interviewed because of The Secret, I looked at her, and I remember having this moment, Nancy. I said, I'm so grateful that this woman had a dream. Because she dreamed, she made it possible for me to dream. Because I know that somehow in the being of herself, she made me stretch. How many of you have been around someone that in their being, they make you stretch? In their essence, they make you stretch. In their getting back up, Angela, they make you stretch. I'm inviting you right now to stretch. I'm inviting you to stretch like you've never stretched before. I'm inviting you into a certain kind of time. Like when you look down, there's a certain kind of time right now. Now it's time to thrive, but it's even more than that. It's time to be unapologetic. It's time to be non-negotiable. It's time to play full out. It's time to choose the what and get sold out. Dean talked about it, get sold out on the what. Because if you get sold out on the what, and when you get sold out on the what, you won't get rattled by the how. You won't get daunted by the how. Because when you decided I'm climbing that mountain is mine. You don't think after that, once you've made the decision, you don't think, can I climb it? You go, how do I climb it? So what do I need to do? What kind of shoes do I need? Who do I need to come with me? How much water do I need? So I'm inviting you. I'm making a bold invitation to you. Pick your what. Pick your what. Who do you want to be remembered as? We have gladiators and giants who've given us massive examples of how you can turn ordinary into extraordinary. How you can make every day, you can make one more extraordinary decision. You don't have to be magic. You don't need sprinkled fairy dust. You don't need potion lotions. You don't even need a hookup. You just need to make a decision. Some of you just made the decision. You jumped in, and I'm not here. My purpose is to set you on fire to do you. My purpose here, when Dean invited me here, Dean knew what I was going to come with. Dean said, go do you, Lisa. Just do that thing you do. And that thing I do is I want to stir your soul. I want to get inside your essence and stir your soul and make it mildly to moderately to significantly uncomfortable for you to sit down on your dream, sit down on your possibility. I want to make it absolutely necessary for you to move from any form of convenience and begin to live in your conviction. My grandmother says your conviction and your convenience don't live on the same block. You can't get to your conviction trying to live in your convenience. So if even saying yes to this program is mildly to moderately to significantly inconvenience, and do it anyway. Because your job is to look back on your life and say, I played full out. I didn't survive. I didn't hang in there. I didn't just live. I didn't just dream. I gave myself permission. I gave myself permission to get to the edge and take the leap. I gave myself permission to be loved. I gave myself permission to be seen. I gave myself permission to be heard. I didn't always say the right thing. I didn't always look my best. But the key thing is I gave myself permission. See, I'm not, and I don't say that from someone who lives in this space and have lived in this space the entire time. I don't say that from someone who always knew what it felt like to let myself be seen. There was a point in my life where the last thing I wanted to do was stand out. There was a time in my life where the last thing I wanted to do was have someone look at me because I wasn't comfortable with who I thought they might see. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I wasn't yet comfortable with what I might say. Will I say it the right way? I don't know if they were raised in my neighborhood or if I'm saying, I don't want to make a fool of myself. Anybody trying to protect that? I don't want to make a fool of myself conversation. Man. But let me tell you something. There was something beating in me. And you know that thing that's beating in you, and it wouldn't let me rest. It just kept beating in me, and I kept trying to downplay it. No. I can do this and be good. And it just kept, I used to pop lock back in the day, y'all, so I'm going to do a little bit of that. It just kept beating through my soul. It wouldn't let me off the hook. And I said, hold on, wait a minute. I need to see who I can become. And just type in chat if you say, I'm ready to see who I can become. I don't want to wonder. I don't want to get to the last 5 years of my life and wonder, who could I have been? I don't want to get to the end of my life and I still got some energy in me. I want to rest in peace. Hello, somebody. I want to say I gave it all. I gave it all to anybody listening and to some people that didn't want to listen. I don't want to. And so I'm here to challenge you and charge you. And then there's that thing. Some of you are still, and I got to tell you, you're in great hands. You're in great hands with Team Dean. You're in great hands with Team Dean. But some of you are still wondering. You're still wondering, can I do it even if I'm scared? And so many times and so many years, I wonder, can I do it even if I have the presence of a little bit of fear? Can I do it if I have the presence of a little bit of uncertainty? Can I do it if I have the presence of a little bit of discomfort? Isn't that's real, right? That's a real conversation to have. I'm not a superhero. You're not a superhero. The cape comes off at night. Hello, somebody. We all know that. People see us, right? I see you laughing, Heidi. People see us as superheroes and super sheroes, but the cape comes off at night. And so let's deal with that real feeling of fear. I want to read you a letter. The last time I was with you guys in Dean, I told the story of Nelson Mandela. And I talked about how Nelson Mandela went through just absolutely tumultuous and insane experiences to write a book called A Long Walk to Freedom and how he led the largest forgiveness movement. But today I want to share with you about another hero. But I want to share with you the part of the hero that no one sees. And I want to challenge you in this conversation because I'm going to say, do it even if you're uncomfortable. Do it even if you're uncertain. Do it. And when it becomes uncomfortable, keep doing it. Because on the other side of discomfort is a whole new possibility. When you're uncomfortable and you still keep moving, all of a sudden you have to grow. When you're uncomfortable and you still keep moving, all of a sudden you have to expand. When you stop in the face of discomfort, you leave yourself right there. You leave yourself right there. I am not the woman I used to be because I kept walking in the face of discomfort. Most of my career, I've walked because things just opened up for me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to say yes. And some of my yeses were excited. I could do this. And some yeses came with knees knocking and teeth chattering. We look at some giants in the world and we don't know that they've had scary moments. So I want to read a letter to you. I want you to pay close attention because you know Dr. Martin Luther King as Dr. Martin Luther King. But I want to read a letter to you that very few people know about. I'm taking you behind the black curtain now. This is a letter that Dr. King wrote, and it wasn't Dr. King. This was Martin. This was somebody's son. This was someone's father. This was someone's husband. And I want you to listen to this letter, and I want you to find your place in this letter. And I want you to say, if this man can do this, then who can I become? The letter reads, almost immediately after the protest started, we began receiving threatening phone calls and letters. They increased as time went on. By the middle of January, they had risen to 30 or 40 calls a day, threatening my life. From the beginning of the protests, both my parents and Coretta's parents always had an unconscious and often conscious fear that something fatal might befall us. They never had a doubt about the righteousness and the rightness of our actions, but they were concerned about what might happen to us. My father made a beaten path from Atlanta to Montgomery, Alabama throughout the days of the protests. Every time I saw him, I went through a deep feeling of anxiety because I knew that my every move, this is Martin, you guys, Dr. Martin Luther King, My every move was driving my father into a deeper and deeper state of worry. During those days, he could hardly mention the many harassments that Coretta, the baby, and I were subjected to without crying. As the weeks passed, I began to see many of the threats were in earnest. Soon I felt myself faltering and growing in fear. One day, a white friend told me that he had heard from a reliable source. You guys, listen to Dr. Martin Luther King say this, that there were plans being made to take my life. For the first time, I realized that something could actually happen to me. This is about having a dream that's bigger than you. One night at a mass meeting, I found myself saying, if one day you would find me sprawled out dead, I do not want you to retaliate with one single act of violence. I urge you to continue protesting with the same dignity and discipline we have shown so far. A strange silence came over the audience. One night at the end of January, I settled into bed late after a strenuous day. Coretta had already fallen asleep, and I was just about to doze off when the telephone rang. An angry voice said, listen, nigger, we've taken what we want as much as we can from you. Before next week, you'll be sorry you ever came to Montgomery. I hung up, but I couldn't sleep. It seemed that all my fears had come down on me at once. Listen to Dr. Martin Luther King. I had reached my saturation point. I got out of bed and walked the floor. I had heard these things before, but for some reason that night it got to me. I turned over and tried to go to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. I was frustrated. I was bewildered. Notice, find you in this conversation. And then I got up. Finally, I went to the kitchen and heated a pot of coffee. I want you to type your name as you start hearing yourself. Get to this. I was ready to give up. With my coffee in my hand, sitting untouched before me, I tried to think of a way to move out of the picture without appearing a coward. I sat there and thought about the beautiful little girl who had just been born. He only had one child at this time, you guys. I come home night after night to see her little gentle smile. I started thinking about the dedicated, loyal wife who was over there asleep, and she would be taken from me, or I could be taken from her. And I got to the point that I couldn't take it any longer. Listen to this. Dr. Martin Luther King says these words, I was weak. Something said to me, you can't call on daddy now. You can't even call on mama now. You got to call on that something and that person that your daddy and your mama used to tell you about. That power that can make a way out of no way. With my head in my hands, I bowed over the kitchen table and I prayed out loud. Listen to these words. I spoke to the divine that night. And I still have a vivid memory. I said, Lord, I'm down here trying to do what's right. I think that I'm doing what's right. I believe what I'm doing what's right. But I must confess that I'm weak now. I'm faltering. I'm losing my courage. Now I'm afraid. This is Dr. Martin Luther King, you guys. We never heard this. We never was told this part of the story. He said, if I stand before the people without strength or courage, they too will falter. I am at the end of my powers. I have nothing left. I've come to a point that I can't face it alone. Dr. Martin Luther King goes on to write, it seemed as though I could hear a quiet voice of assurance saying, Martin Luther King, stand up for righteousness, stand up for justice, stand up for truth, and know that I will be with you until the very end. He goes on to say, I felt a dashing in my soul, but I heard the voice. He promised to never leave me. And in that moment, I experienced a presence of the divine that I've never experienced before. And almost at once, all my fears melted away. My uncertainty disappeared. I was ready. I say with that, if that could be Dr. King, that same person that then went on to make it possible for us to be together. That same man with that fear, that same man with that uncertainty said, it's time for me to thrive. It's time. It's time for me to be unapologetic. It's time for me to be non-negotiable. That same man,
will rise up,
that same man
live out the true meaning of its creed.
stood in front of millions
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
and delivered something to us.
Men are created equal.
He talked about you and I. He gave us permission. He gave a chocolate girl, a white boy, an Indian woman. He gave us permission to be in the same space together.
One day on the red hills of Georgia,
After that fear.
sons of former slaves and the sons of former
So
slaves.
what about you? This is your time.
Sit down together at the table of
This is your time.
I have a dream.
We have to take our dreams and make our dreams our reality. And when you can hook your caboose to someone else's train, hold on tight and soar. I say, why not? I say, what better time than now? And what better place than here? And what better person than you? And what better community than this? I ask you that question. I say, listen, if you don't do you, you won't be done. And I'm a crazy believer to say, you must be done. Type in chat, I must be done. You must be done. And no one can do you but you. You are an unrepeatable miracle. I must be done. So then what must you do to be done? Oh, I'm just saying, I'm just asking you a question. I'm just here to stir your soul. I'm just here to disrupt some things. I'm just here because there's a power. There's a power at play here. And you are absolutely in the right place at the right time with the right people having the right conversation. And I'm going to leave you with this. And Dean, I love you so much. I love that you always invite me back. I love that you always allow me to play. Let me just say that when you look at the people playing in the world and you think I can't do that because it's already being done, Dean's taking up the space or Tony or Lisa or someone say, no one can take your space. Like your name is written. Your name is written in the existence of now. And somewhere between your birthday and your transition day is the dash. And you got one job, to make that dash dance. That's your job. And so I stopped by on behalf of all of those great leaders whose shoulders we stand on, from Malcolm to Martin to Mother Teresa to Cesar Chavez to Mahatma Gandhi to your great-great-grandmother and your great-great-grandfather. I come by just representing the shoulders we stand on to say, while we are here, let's make our dash dance. Let's disrupt this world with possibility. Let's get ready and mount up for 2023. Don't be afraid of what's around the corner. Become so certain that what's around the corner becomes afraid of you. It's time to rise, and together we can rise. And it's time to thrive, and together we can thrive. And when you make a commitment to rise, everything rises around you. Your children rise. Your family rise. When you rise, everyone rises. So I invite you, rise up. Rise up. Say yes to you. Say yes. And do it all again and again. And as you rise, I'm going to continue to champion you. I'm going to continue to cheerlead you. I'm your sister in this journey. I love you. I'm honored to be here with you. I appreciate you. And Dean, I just have to say that I'm always a yes. I'm always a yes. And then you decide what the question is, because we will rise together. This is our time, you guys. We do it as a community. Type in chat. I see you guys are going crazy. I'm watching the chat. I love you. I'm honored to be here with you. I just stopped by to give you chocolate kisses.
Lisa Nichols, everybody. Oh, man. Lisa. Wow. Lisa Nichols, everybody. Light up the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Wow. Lisa will be watching the chat, guys. Send her the love. I know you were doing it her whole time, but now that you can see it.
I can. Great. Great.